What's good? It's your boy Fanon. All right, man. I'm going to do a post-fight reaction to the two fights that were on Showtime and IFL this afternoon. The first one, of course, the one that I really enjoyed the most was James Chunky Gazette DeGale versus Chris Eubank Jr. And then the other fight that took place was Joe Joyce versus Bermane Stiverne. Very good. I got to tell you, man, I really do like the afternoon fights that are aired from the UK. And I certainly hope that we get more on more of those fights, more in high quality fights. That's the one thing that I like. The one thing that I really do like about the Zone is that they do air those afternoon fights in the UK. And I've been streaming BoxRec for years. And it was good to see it on regular Showtime. They've been doing them from years on and off. But with this new deal that they have with IFTV, I think it's IFTV. But whatever the deal is that Al Heyman and the PBC have with airing those fight cards out of the UK and showing them on Showtime, that's a real for being basically a boxing addict. It's a lot of fun. In short, and I'll get into it, Chris Eubank looked like he made a lot of improvements, and so did Joe Joyce. Man, I'm going to get into that in a second. Before I do, I want to welcome you back to the channel, subscribers. If you're not subscribed, I hope that you would accept my invitation to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. Okay, so first we're going to talk about, the big one that I was most looking forward to, and that was James DeGale versus Chris Eubank. I didn't make a prediction for this fight because I really had no idea which way it was going to go. I really thought that it was going to depend on how much was left in the tank for James DeGale, because James DeGale's been in some wars. Definitely his last few fights. I think it was the Truex fight. There was a big battle in the Truex fights. And also, the fight that he had with, God dog, man, the cat that just lost to Chris Eubank, that fought, Badu Jack. Man, I always forget Badu Jack's name, man. But obviously a great fighter, Badu Jack. Very, very intense fight. Really took a lot of pounding from Badu Jack. And then, of course, he had that was a majority draw, I do believe. And then after that, he fought Caleb Truax a couple times. Won the last one off Caleb Truax, but it was a real big battle in the last one. So I was really wondering what was left in the tank from in his James DeGale's tank. And I think he had a lot left in the tank. I think the big problem with him is, though, that he just doesn't have a lot of power. And he never had the ability to hurt Chris Eubank. He would dart in, dart out, use a lot of footwork, very athletic, but he never really had the ability, I believe, didn't have the faith in his power to ever sit down and try to hurt Chris Eubank. And Chris Eubank, on the other hand, I think made a big improvement from the last time that I saw him fight. The last time that I saw him fight was against George Groves. I didn't see the JJ Donahue fight. I didn't actually get to see that fight, but I did see the George Groves fight and the one before that, obviously the two before that, which was Yaldemir and Arthur Abrams in the World Boxing Super Series. When I watched him fight George Groves, well, first of all, with Yaldemir, I think he felt in love with his power in the way that he knocked Yaldemir out. And I think he carried that into the George Groves fight and never really boxed. He really just kind of went after George Groves, and it seemed like the whole fight that he was just trying to get a one-punch knockout. This fight, I thought he was a lot more patient with James DeGale. He was clearly stalking James DeGale. James DeGale was trying to stay on the outside, trying to outbox him, trying to fight on the outside and dash in. And when he dashed in, you'd hold him. But then Eubank would land some good shots on the inside. He wind up later in the fight dropping really, and he wound up pushing. I think when it got to maybe round 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 is when Chris Eubank really tried to step up the fight, really started trying to go at him, landed some really big shots. And one thing that I like that he did, man, and I thought he was going to do it earlier, I think he overdid it, is when he threw James DeGale off of his back, and he wound up slamming him down, and he lost a point for that round. But clearly, with the scorecards, he had enough room left on the scorecards to deal with that. And he just was really the stronger fighter, the more aggressive fighter. But at the same time, he fought very, very smart. He wasn't just running after James DeGale and just looking for the knockout. So it was really good to see him make that adjustment. I like his new trainer. I heard that he was working on, he's working on his footwork. He was working on his balance and things like that. This is the first time, I do believe, that he had an actual full-time trainer, which is, I don't think it's too crazy, because that sounds crazy, but I don't think it really is, because his dad is, Chris Eubank, and that guy knows how to fight. Was an excellent, excellent fighter out of the UK. So, congratulations, James DeGale. I think that, congratulations, Chris Eubank. James DeGale, if James DeGale can't get down to 160 pounds, he needs to call it a day, man, because he just doesn't have the power to hurt these guys. And as a result, after he slows down, with all that movement slows down a little bit, they can start catching him and hurting him. They don't really have to worry too much about what's coming back. And I think that's his biggest problem. But I like James James DeGale a lot. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight again, but I just think obviously his days at the top tier of 168 pounds is done. Chris Eubank, I think he's on his way up. If he continues to make improvements, I think that he can do. I think he has a shot against some of the guys, some of the big guys at 168 pounds. I know that the WBO belt is going to be available, should be available soon, because I heard that Gilberto Ramirez is supposed to be moving up to 175. He's been having some problems over his last several fights, so it might be a situation where a guy that tall, he just really needs to, he needs to go up in weight. So that belt might be available for him to get positioned to fight for. Obviously there's the WBC belt, I do believe, is vacant, but I'm quite sure that David Benavidez is going to get a shot at that. And I'm just, I wouldn't mind seeing a Chris Eubank, David Benavidez fight. Obviously, the WBA champion is Callum Smith. Yeah, because he won that off of George Groves. And that would be a nice little completion to a circle, because both James DeGale and Chris Eubank have been beaten by George Groves, and Callum Smith can beat George Groves. So if Chris Eubank wanted to go towards a route of trying to get a match with Callum Smith, that might be good, man. That might be good. I can't recall what network, if there's any network issues between he and Callum Smith. Probably, I think that Callum Smith is represented by Matchroom, so that might cause some type of issue with the networks in the UK, and the networks in the United States, depending on a relationship between the PBC and Matchroom. But anyway, if the fights could happen, I wouldn't mind seeing it. I wouldn't call him one of the best 3 or 4 168 pounders, yet, but maybe there's a chance, man. A couple of things I'd like to see him do better. I would really like to have him a better southpaw jab. I think that he could really learn. Excuse me, not southpaw. That's James DeGale. I would really like to see him have a better jab. And I think that if he could establish if he didn't hold his jab so low, if he could establish a jab, a real hard jab that could cause people problems, that the strength of his right hand is significant. So I just think that would really help him out a lot. So maybe they're going to work on that, and we'll see. But this was a good performance from him. As far as Joe Joyce and Bermane Stiverne, Joe Joyce, the way that he looked was interesting to me, man. He really let his hands go a lot. He was very active, right? But he's very active, and it seemed like his defense really was his punch output. I think the problem for Joe Joyce is, like, if Joe Joyce fought like that against, Anthony Joshua, I think that fight ends in 2 rounds. Because the shots that Bermane Stiverne was able to hit him with consistently, those type of shots from a guy like Anthony Joshua or somebody like Luis Ortiz from the southpaw stance, or Deontay Wilder, especially Deontay Wilder, his head is going to be on a swivel and he's going to go out. So, and he's not very fast, but I do like, because of the fact that I do like I do like his work ethic. I do like his punch output. He's a very, very a very busy heavyweight for a heavyweight that's that size. So that'll be interesting. It'll be real interesting to see how Joe Joyce does. He's an older heavyweight, so I don't really know how much improvement he's going to make. I'm not saying that he can't make improvements. I'm just saying he's not a spring chicken. But I'll tell you for sure, if he winds up, he'll be food for Deontay Wilder. In the telecast, they said that they didn't think he was ready for Luis Ortiz. I absolutely positively know he's not ready for Luis Ortiz. That would be, that would be real ugly. Until he learns to move his head, he learns to actually avoid being hit. You know what I mean? Bermane Stiverne was a shot fighter. Honestly, man, I think both Chris Eubank. There's an argument that could be made that both Chris Eubank and Joe Joyce were in there against shot fighters. But clearly, Bermane Stiverne was a little more shot than James DeGale. James DeGale still had fresh legs. I just don't know how willing James DeGale was mentally to be in a war with Chris Eubank. So anyway, it is what it is. I'm looking forward to the fights that are coming up tonight. There will be, of course, the Anthony Durrell is fighting Yaldemir. And on the undercard, I can't wait to see, man, one of my favorite young fighters coming up, prospects, Money Pal the fourth is fighting out there. I don't know if that's going to be on the televised card. I would love it was on the televised card, but I don't think it is. But man, my thoughts and prayers and best wishes go out to Money Pal the third and Money Pal the fourth and his family. Looking forward to you to take care of that business. Anyway, so that's my thoughts on the fight. And with that, I'm out. Peace.